Hi everyone, my name is Åsa Tamsons. I'm excited to be here at the Dublin Tech Summit and now with a clicker as well, so I hope I will manage throughout the presentation. I think as you heard from the previous speaker, we're living in a time where a lot of technologies right now are moving from slogans to reality. It's quantum computing, but I would say perhaps even closer, machine learning and AI applied at scale, edge computing, AR, VR. 5G is one of these technologies. And I want to talk to you about what it really means, how it will change the way we work and live, but perhaps also how it will help power and scale many of these other technologies that we're excited about. There are a lot of things we don't know, but there's one thing we do know, and that is the pace of change will never be slower than it is right now. And that had me asking basically two questions. One is, how do you continue to stay relevant with this pace of change? And what role can 5G have in terms of accelerating the transformation of industries to both be ready for the change, but also reap the benefits of it? So I want to talk about those two things. And you know, I thought when I think about Ericsson, we've stayed alive for 143 years now. That's quite an achievement in the tech industry. That yes, moving faster now, but it has been moving pretty fast also with an accelerating pace the last 143 years. And I don't think there's a magic recipe, a silver bullet for how the heck do we stay alive for the next 143 years? Or even more important, how do we stay relevant in those 143 years? But I think there are a couple of lessons that I think is worth touching on. I think the first one, dare to think big. And think big from the start, and never give up on thinking big and thinking global. The second one, even if you're pressured by the next quarterly report or whatever short-term pressures you have, continue to invest in the future. When you're forced to it, reinvent yourself, but also reinvent others. And relentlessly innovate. I think we've been a company that's been on a quest of innovating for the last 143 years. But you never innovate successfully alone. You do it to others, and you also open up and enable others to innovate. But I think lastly, and one area that we as Ericsson are focusing more on now than ever, I would say, is innovation is not only about technology. We're on a quest for easy, so how do you make it easy for people to access, use, deploy, and scale whatever you come up with? And that's something we'll continue to push. I'm just going to give you a few very quick examples of this. So let's start with Think Big. In 1885, Sweden was the capital in the world with the highest telephone penetration. That's more than 100 years ago. It was just a couple of years after the first telephone was introduced in 1877. And it's interesting at that time was you could say a local innovation that took Stockholm by storm. By working with associations, it quickly spread across the country. There was a lot of fear. Some even said, this is the devil's access to our homes and our lives. They were scared about what is the content that would leak out of the wires. But I think Ericsson saw the positive power of this technology, how it could actually change people's lives, and decided Stockholm is not good enough, Sweden is not good enough. We're going to bring this out to the world, and since then worked with global scale, standardization, and deep and broad collaboration to make this accessible. Today, we power 40% of the mobile network traffic that goes around in the world, and the phones you probably look at least once per minute in average, I just learned. But it's not enough to think big. So how do you continuously innovate and also share those innovations with others? To date, we have 49,000 patents globally. Of course, in 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G, but also Bluetooth. Another one is Erlang. That was first developed not in 1885, said on slide, but in 1980. And over the last 20 years, they've been part of open source. And it has powered a lot of real-time applications that are both reliable and secure, so you can use them in banking, in e-commerce. And it's also changing the way in gaming. We will continue to innovate. We will continue to share those innovations and the breakthroughs to make them accessible to many. Another example, sometimes you hit the wall. Sometimes you may face a plateau. And what do you do then? Well, 40 years ago, Ericsson decided we may do something else than wires. How about wireless? Incubated a team on the other part of the city that is now, I would say, 100% of our business. 40 years, the last 40 years we invested in those mobile technologies, but it was not only that we came up with a new technology, we actually created a new industry. We actually created and reinvented a new customer base. So you could say the 450 customers that we have today, they didn't even exist 40 years ago. So if you want to continue to stay relevant, you have to reinvent yourself, but also reinvent others with you. Another learning was quite recent. So even when going gets tough, even when you're deeply pressured as a company, until last quarter, we hadn't grown since 2013. 2017, we were loss-making. Gone through 2 reorgs in 9 months. A new CEO, and we said goodbye to 25,000 colleagues, almost 25% of our staff. But at the same time, we realized we need to invest in the future. So we actually invested more than ever at the same time in 5G. We, at the same time, hired more than rock stars, 5G developers, to accelerate our position and development of 5G. And we also increased our funds into the long-term research. So the same team that 40 years ago came up with the mobile technology. So I think regardless, even, especially if you're a tech company, and especially if you're faced by the profitability demands here and now, never, ever give up on the future. I think the result we see today, at the moment we're busy rolling out the first commercial networks of 5G. We have 18 named 5G deals. That's more named deals than any other right now. There are 10 commercial contracts or commercial networks being rolled out in the world right now. We're part of all of them. And this is what we are extremely busy with right now. And that's also why I think it will be exciting to tell what will this new 5G network, but I would say even more, platform for innovation, bring and offer you. But it's more than technology. As I mentioned, we're going to continue, and we're on a quest. We're not saying we are perfect, we're not best, but we'll continue to be on a quest for easy. How do we make it ridiculously easy to access our technologies? I don't know if you've seen a base station, but basically they stand out there on a hill or on the top of a building somewhere. Sometimes when you have them indoor, you have a radio access point as a baseband. The smallest one is, I would say, the size of a puck. I didn't bring one with me today, but it's kind of this size. I put it up. That's pretty small, that's pretty easy to put up, but we think it should be easier. So imagine that you could basically distribute coverage everywhere with a high quality performance that you want and need, regardless if for mission-critical robots for an industrial plant or if it's for a surgery or a live stage arena for a really amazing experience for many. Imagine that that would be so easy to distribute just as a sticker. Imagine that it was nearly invisible, or perhaps in any shape or form you wanted. I want to introduce our most recent research project coming out from the research team. And we kind of redefined what we mean with a baseband and antenna. So this is, my friends, the form factor that we envision for some of the 5G basebands and antennas going forward. Still a research project, but we're working now on making it commercially ready. I think it brings, for those of you who've been in telecommunication, you may know that network rollout is quite a big thing. I think it's, let's see if I manage to do a network rollout here on stage. I think it's pretty neat. I think what is interesting if you go into factory environments like this one, and you have a lot of machines, and you want to have human and machine interaction, but there may be places that you want to mark off. Then you can actually distribute it just as easy as a sticker with the color coding. Or imagine if you're a very enthusiastic person, an early tech adopter who loves to have a lot of tech appliances in your kitchen, and you want it to fit your marble bench. Well, here we go. I think the opportunities are probably limitless, and we will continue. We will continue push and innovate, and I think that's one of the biggest learnings. That innovation is not only about technology; it's about understanding where it will be used and how it will be used, and make it so much easier than we typically have today. So welcome the stripes. I think the last 40 years, I mentioned we've been in the mobile technology, we've been through the Gs, and you can, in a simple way, say we have connected places and homes, we have connected people, we're connecting things. We're now entering a new era where we're connecting the intelligence across places, people, and things. You could say it's connecting the intelligence of systems. And why are we so excited about this? Why are we so excited about the real-time capability of 5G? That is part of enabling that, but it's not the whole story. Well, let me give you some very basic intro. So if you compare with previous Gs, 5G is not just another G. It's not just much more capacity and latency. I would say it's the G for industries. It's the G that will transform the way we run business and can deploy other technologies. Just to give you a couple of examples. So, of course, with 1,000 times more capacity, it will be much faster to download that Netflix movie or stream that movie. Yes. And that's the transformation we've seen with 4G already. But what I think is interesting, we will be able to cut the wires to our homes. More importantly, we can start to go through the same transformation with factories. Today, 90% of the factories are wired. It's very non-flexible, a lot of maintenance costs, and it cannot always power the use cases. That is part of what this capacity actually gives. The other part is what we call the reaction time. So we can start to enable completely new experiences when we go from 20 milliseconds to 1 millisecond. And I will get back to that in a bit. The third part is fundamentally important. What we also do with this technology is we improve the battery lifetime of sensors using this technology by 10 times. That's a huge cost saving, but I think from a sustainability point of view, it's even bigger. With machine learning and AI built into it, and I would say more an architecture that's built more for software than previous generations, we're also able to, in real time, virtually stand up a network slice. What does that mean? Well, we can actually dedicate a specific network virtually to an arena or to an ambulance, or anything that we think should have a dedicated slice. It can be for a certain moment of time, it can be there always. And that means you don't have to build separate networks for that. So as you can see, there are more and more opportunities, and it's more than just capacity and speed, and will bring completely new opportunities. Now, so what is then really the difference between 4G and 5G? I want to share a video with you, because I think sometimes it's good to have a very concrete example. Do we have any sports fans here in the audience? Good, 1. Great, 2. Oh, we even have more. Super. So what we actually did, we had 2 soccer players with a VR headset. And you put one goalkeeper in the goal with a VR headset, and you have one guy who's trying to make the goal. We'll see here how it goes for 4G against 5G. So you see they have the same VR headset, no cheating. This was 4G, he missed. Let's look at team 5G. See the feedback loop here, even if it's 20 milliseconds, it's just not good enough to enable a fast enough reaction by the goalkeeper. Then we have 5G. He catches it every single time. I think what is, this it makes it very concrete, and it's fun. It's fun with soccer and it's fun with game, but we can actually play this game without VR headsets if we want. I think what is really important is when you apply this reaction time to remote surgery, to some of the advanced manufacturing and human-machine interaction in a factory, and when you start to apply it to autonomous driving, well, then this reaction time is the difference between life and death. So what we are extremely excited about is when we start to see our technology now power completely new opportunities. It can be musicians who can have a real-time experience, although they're they're located in different parts of the world. It can be remote healthcare, and you can say, well, how big is that? Well, one of the most common reasons for death today, and a quite common one, is the heart attacks. You have 90 minutes typically that count. And if you can actually enable some of the critical treatments and diagnostic in the ambulance, you can actually save very precious time and get to the right hospital with the right expert for the right treatment in time. Autonomous driving, I will get back to that, but also advanced applications for industries, but also very mainstream and basic one, to be honest. So in one way, we believe 5G will have the same fundamental transformation power as electricity, steam, and silicon had for the previous industrial transformations. And it's not only that will be a transformation force in itself, it will enable technologies like haptic feedback loop. So imagine you go e-shopping and you can sense the quality of the fabric of the blazer. Or imagine that you go grocery store shopping online and you can actually sense and pick the exact fruit and sense the ripeness of the avocado. So that's what this real-time feedback gives. Yes, we are applying haptic feedback loops today. It's actually quite widely used in the gaming world. But the latency doesn't give that experience, to give that kind of transformational experience that you would like to have. And with 5G, that we will be able to bring haptic feedback loops mainstream to many, many, many cases. So what is then the value? Well, it will bring a lot of efficiency. We can save resources, we can save labor, we can save time. We will have a new standard for quality, a new standard for safety. And thirdly, we will be able to power sustainability. The the efficiency improvements in itself, but also the battery lifetime. In fact, we've done a research quite recently where we've proven that 5G together with other digital technologies can power 50% of the climate change we need by 2030. That's 15% of the required 30% CO2 reductions. That's significant. I want you to share just 2 examples to kind of make it come to life. What do I talk about when I talk about efficiency, safety, quality, and sustainability? We've been working together with Fraunhofer Institute in Aachen and one of the world's leading jet engine manufacturers. When you produce a jet engine, there's one critical part called the blisk. It's highly time-consuming to produce. It takes 15 to 20 hours. It's also extremely sensitive. So when you have the milling robot, the smallest vibrations can actually hurt the quality and you have to start all over again. That's not a big problem, not only because it takes a long time and you need to start over the whole process, but because also these blisks are very expensive, around 100,000 euros for one blade. We've been applying the 5G technology in this fast reaction time of 5G. And with that, we can actually sense the vibration. We can give a signal to the robot and stop it before it hits the blade, thereby saving a lot of money and waste that would have happened otherwise. We will also improve the quality, so the quality of the blades are actually better than before. And thanks to reducing all that waste, we also can reduce a lot of CO2 emissions. For this jet engine manufacturer, 27 million euros per factory per year alone from this single application. And 60 million tons of CO2 of potential reduction if they would apply this worldwide in the factory. Another example is Einride. Einride is the inventor of T-Pod. T-Pod is one of the first autonomous driving electrified trucks. They want to completely transform distribution and logistics. Their customer, DB Schenker, are buying their services and managed by having our 5G cloud solution and platform powering this truck. With that, they can actually have one remote driver managing 10 trucks. That has saved 60% of the OPEX cost. It's a huge deal, given both the driver cost and the fuel cost is pretty big for someone like DB Schenker. But also, thanks to being powered by electricity, in this case in Sweden, it can help reduce 90% of the CO2 emissions. This is a live commercial case. We just got permits to expand the area where we can run these trucks at more industrial and public roads in Sweden. But as you saw in both these 2 cases, none of them would have been unlocked if we did this alone. We're working here in this case with Telia, service provider at Ericsson, in Sweden, Einride, a startup, and DB Schenker. I think that's a consistent learning that we can only unlock these values if we do it together. That's also why we are working together with UCD, so University of College Dublin, and Vodafone Ireland to jointly identify and enable new startups, other enterprises, and to come up with all these amazing applications that this can power. I think if we do that, we will have a huge impact, not only from a financial point of view, but actually to quite many of the SDG goals. Because through these innovations, we can transform how we deliver water to those who have a hard time to access or even afford clean water today. I already talked about the climate goals, but also power economic growth. Because this is, at the end of the day, an innovation platform that will power the next generation of invention, the next generation of companies, and the next generation, what I call industrial pioneers, who will change this world. Some people ask me, so what comes beyond 5G? Are you thinking about 6G? Yes, we are actually. That research team I talked about, they're thinking about that right now. But I think what we do know is that we actually don't know exactly how the future will unfold. We will have the opportunity to create a lot of impact together. But there's one thing I think is known, and that's, I think, if you think about Milton Friedman saying that the human being has unlimited wants and needs. And that essentially means that people never get enough. There's always something else and something we rather would like to have. I think that will continue to be a driving force. And with a pace of change that will never be slower as it is today, I think the only limitation for what will come beyond 5G is our imagination. And we will at Ericsson, we will make sure we will switch on 5G, we will make it available to all of you. But what makes me extremely optimistic is when I see all the innovation power of all of you who are here at Dublin today. It's only when we start to collaborate and share this together, that's when we will start to see magic. And that's why I'm extremely optimistic about the positive impact we jointly can have when we unlock the collective innovation power of both human and the new technologies and what they will bring. Thank you.
Thank you.